Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
If at any point in time in our agenda you wish to ask a question, raise your hand and we will put you on. Thank you. Okay. First order of business is to review and approve the minutes of Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Did trustees have an opportunity to review such?
Yes, I move that we accept as presented.
And I'll second.
All right, Lori, did you get that? Moved and seconded. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank
I'm
you.
abstaining because I actually didn't see it.
One abstaining, Ray.
I looked at everything else, but I never found.
Okay, they were,
Because I didn't have.
okay. All right. The second one is reviewing the monthly warrant and approving the bills. Doug, are you
Yes.
able to lead us through this? Thank you.
Absolutely.
First of all, we're very happy that you're recovering from COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm bouncing back. It was not what I expected. Everybody that I know recently had very mild. I was in bed for 2 full days before I even could start to think about moving around. So
Yeah.
it was quite the last week.
All right.
But yes, on the mend. I just wanted to be safe tonight. So
Shall we
I'll do.
start with the payroll warrant?
Yep, payroll. Nothing out of the ordinary. I'll note that we talked last month. We had 2 AFLACs on the last one. You'll see that there's no AFLAC on this one. It just happened to come at the end of August for the September. Other than that, there's nothing out of the ordinary. If anybody has any questions on payroll, the total is $15,651.67.
I would move that we approve.
Scott is moving to approve that.
I'll second.
Tara is seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll get us all, the trustees here to sign the documents at the end.
Thank you.
For now, I just have numbers on to know where I'm going. Your next one, Doug.
Yep. Next one is the monthly warrant, and you'll see that it's labeled late September, October. I did it together because there was only one late September, and that was the payment for the fire truck. So you'll see the first item on there was the amount that we took from the sinking fund, which was $132,485 that was used to pay for the fire truck. Other than that, there's really nothing out of the ordinary. The couple of large items on there, Murray Brothers, that was for the roof work at the depot. North Bennington Graded School, that was for collection of delinquent taxes. Parent Rec was from an approval of ARPA funds for their pump. Other than that, everything is in the normal range for monthly bills. So the total, which does include, go ahead, Mary.
I just wanted to note that before I forget that the roof repairs, that ought to come out of our reserve funds. I think there's what, $32,000 in there, something like that, 23. Let me take a quick
23
peek.
depot reserve, yes.
Yeah. So unless any trustees don't agree with that, that's where it has to come out of because it is not budgeted per se.
Which contingency, which reserve?
It will come out of the depot reserve, the 23,000.
Right, okay.
Yes,
23,673.
yes. Okay.
Yep. So that will be
So that-
transferred. Yep. I'll transfer
can
that
do
to
that.
reflect that. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's perfect. So the total for the motion would be $170,955.35.
I'll make a motion.
Ray is
I have a
motioning.
quick question.
Oh, Scott, yes.
At an earlier meeting, I understood that Doxy Roofing was going to be doing that work on the depot. did that, what happened there?
Norm, can you answer that?
Doxy was a Doxy is a subcontractor for Murray.
Oh, okay, all righty.
Any other questions? Raise motion stands,
I'll second it.
seconded there by Scott, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's all I have for now. I'll jump back in a little bit.
Okay,
And apparently good 130 plus 75, so almost 140,000 of that is actually coming out of reserve funds.
that is correct.
Current listings.
That is correct. Okay, let me move over. I gotta keep myself in order here. The next item for discussion is the fire department. We had two items, a storage shed and fire gear. Chief Harrington, the floor is yours.
Does anybody have any questions about the shed?
Lots.
Okay,
What is it? Why? Last time we talked, we asked that it go to the zoning for an opinion there as to whether it needed it. I know you had mentioned it, but we don't have the paperwork. And we ought to be setting the right example by filling out the application and having that so noted. The other thing is just tell us. A piece of paper with an estimate is not really a justification for what we need the project for, so please explain.
at the last meeting that I was here at, you asked somebody to contact somebody about the shed. Do you remember
I asked you to contact the zoning.
that? I thought you asked somebody else.
No,
I can do that.
okay,
The storage area that we had under where the stairs are, if you go to the firehouse, the lot,
mhm,
the hot water tank is there now, so we can't put anything around it. So the stuff that we have in the firehouse has to go either in the shed or build
else.
something inside so we can store it.
Wasn't a lot of that stuff that was under the stairs, didn't that all get disposed of, or much of that?
Quite a bit of it, but we still have all the stuff that they saw inside.
I don't know what, can you tell us something about the nature of the stuff?
It's tables, it's, the stuff, but we lost space because we have an air compressor in there now to fill bottles. So we lost all that space. It's, the stuff that we put on the firehouse for the Christmas parties and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
all in totes.
A lot of, Scott and I moved that out of the way so they could do the installation of the heat pump. And I remember a lot of water, which was in bottle containers.
Yeah.
And I don't remember tables particularly. There
Well, the
was,
tables are inside the truck bed.
oh, I see,
So, and
Okay.
the other stuff that's inside isn't where you guys came in and we met.
right,
And she knows what I'm talking about, because I showed her all the stuff too.
right.
That stuff's gotta go somewhere to get us some room back there, because we can barely walk in back of the trucks, you know? We just got the stuff piled against the wall.
Okay, there's a large space upstairs. There's one closet that had just some random stuff in the back. Can shelving be put in there?
That's
Can you
cool.
build? I know, but it did not look like it was well organized. It was stuff in there, but it could be perhaps shelving made. Can there be a holder of some sort
We're not
done
talking-
so that your tables can all go upstairs?
Well, we have all the tables upstairs now,
But I thought you
but there's
said,
some tables downstairs. that we
okay,
do downstairs
but
we don't have.
couldn't you build some kind of storage for the tables to all go upstairs? It just seems without, that this is,
When I'm
an
talking-
easy solution,
When I'm
but-
talking tables, I'm talking, when we do our 4-inch hose, we put it on the truck. We have this big table that's sitting in the back that the hose rolls around. And you pull it up onto the truck with that. That's what I'm talking about. I want to get that out in the shed, but the other shed is full now.
okay, well,
You want to get, sorry.
I want to get
That's a
this
table?
There's a big table that we load our hose with when we take it off,
Yeah.
or we have to put it on. It sits in the back there, she saw it.
Has it always been in the back?
It is, and that's why we don't have any room. In the back, I mean, she was there, she knows what I'm talking about.
I may not remember exactly that table, but I remember piles of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, so, I mean, it's not gonna, I mean, our next option is to build something upstairs, but.
My question to you is this an immediate need that has to get done this fiscal year? Or is it something that can have temporary lodgings until we're in the next fiscal, time period? Just anticipating other things that you guys might be needing or requesting.
I'm kind of confused because the money's there, why are we talking about just a year?
What money are you proposing to use?
$38,000, building maintenance.
In the building maintenance, yes, and you're aware that you know what that quote was to replace the heating system. There is going to be a need to replace the heating system. It is temporarily fixed, but it is old, it is worn.
I think we're anticipating bigger
Yes.
expenditures so that, something that might be less of an imminent need could be pushed back until we know that we have budgeted for it.
And maybe there's a cleverer way to have someone look at the space and better design the space that we have.
Ed, how often do you rent the space upstairs?
We don't rent the space.
You used to, but you don't now?
No, because we don't have an elevator, we can't.
Right.
So,
So it seems like the upstairs is a really adequate storage for a whole lot of stuff if necessary for now.
that's where we hold our meetings and stuff, so
How many people are in a meeting?
our Christmas party and stuff like that, we put that up there. There's about 25.
And is it a place that you could potentially store stuff and move it for your parties and or meetings? And
Well, the only thing is, that whole thing is heavy. I don't want to have to carry it up and down the stairs.
That's
Two
true.
flights of stairs, you know what I'm saying? That
But
makes
maybe
sense.
there's other things that can be moved around so that that hose table can stay downstairs. As it should, you probably want it near the truck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so like you take some of the stuff that's in the shed that's smaller and easier to move up and then put it in the space that you've just made in the shed. I don't know what's in the shed right now.
You want to put it in the shed outside.
I want to put more, there's gonna be more stuff going in there. There's stuff on top of the cabinets that's gonna go in there. There's stuff on the side where the brush truck and stuff is, it's gonna go in there.
Well,
We had most of the stuff.
do you
Under the
know what your priorities are for going in the shed? I mean, your accessibility of various parts that are stored in the building or in the shed. What is the shed supposed to be for immediate, like real quick access, or is it just long-term storage?
It's gonna be long term, it's not. We'll use the.
So why can't you use a portion of the space upstairs for long-term storage? Put it in a corner somewhere. I don't, I know it has corners.
Well,
I think
I mean,
we're just
that's-
offering alternatives, just like we did with the fire truck, we're offering alternative solutions that might save a little money in the
And-
short term.
And that shed, I've been in there, it does have some space in it. It's not full to the gills.
Well, no,
by
it
any
doesn't,
means.
it doesn't have space now because we moved everything that was under the steps. That's why the other stuff was still in there. We didn't have room.
Yeah, but that wouldn't take up the whole of the shed. The stuff I moved, that Scott and I moved.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
But with the table, maybe it takes up more
The
space.
table is probably 5 feet by 4 feet.
Those water bottles, you take those with you on
They
when you
on.
go out.
That's right. And we'll be getting probably another pallet here pretty soon, because it gets donated to us, so.
Yeah,
And we'll have to have space for that, put that somewhere.
yeah. Well, I don't know, what the fire inspector thinks of it, but they are bottles of water.
Yeah, I don't think the fire inspector had any issues with
Yeah,
water.
you
under
could,
the
you could
stairs.
store them under the stair.
Yeah,
That's just one, that's probably the only thing that was there, you could store there that I know of, but, I mean, there was a rack, a coat rack, which was holding other things on shelving.
Yeah, and that went into the storage, it's the shed is there now.
Yeah,
That all went in there.
I think we just need a better idea of why there needs to be a larger storage space outside the building when there's space upstairs that is unused 99%, 95% of the time. Especially since you don't need all of it anyway for meetings.
I don't know whether this sounds crazy or not, but is it worth asking an interior designer to take a look at the space and come up with some proposals? I mean, there may be a fee for service, but I doubt it's $75,000, $7,500. It may be. I mean, you kind of, there's sort of that same issue with all of our old buildings. And at some point, jumping ahead to something that's coming up later on in the agenda, but we really do have to take a look at all the municipal buildings we have and figure out short-term and long-term, are they adequate? Are they used to the best of their capacity? What else, might be able to do? And seek grants to remedy those things that we have issue with. The garage is not big enough. This space is ill-suited to be used for too many other purposes. And we could go on. So I know the fire station is in a similar situation. I'm not comfortable whack-a-moling these problems, and that's what I feel. I don't feel that this is one solution. I don't know that it's the only or the best.
Norm, are we still renting space down on Water Street?
Yeah, yes, we are. It's, I mean, we keep that place pretty full. And one of our agreements into that is not going in and out of that building an awful lot.
Right.
You can, well, I'll let you deal with the fire department. I'll stay out of this conversation unless I'm at.
Well,
Is that 940 Water Street that you have a space in?
It's a
Where the cheese place is there,
the warehouse.
the old cable factory.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
I have a concern. I've been on the board for just a few months, and like the first meeting I went to, there was a $400,000 fire truck, which, again, I'm new, I'm not experienced, but that was like a big deal to me. Then the heating system was deemed to be obsolete, needed replacing. We started on that road with the water heater. I gather there's fire equipment that you guys, your personal fire equipment that needs doing. So just as a new board member and as a taxpayer, I'm like, wow, this is a lot of money. So my concern is following up on Kara's point, is it something we can put off until we can actually budget for it and make do with, as Ray suggested, the space upstairs for the time being?
I'll take care of it.
You still have the floor, and you have another matter you'd like discussed.
You guys have the proposals?
Well, I'm a little confused as to which, there was something that was put on Lori's door today.
Yeah,
Is that the one you're talking about?
yeah, the two, there should be one.
There's two.
Okay.
New York State.
There was one that was sent earlier,
Yeah,
and that had the 46,764, and I gather that is now 55,000?
yes.
Okay,
Actually, I did scan and send both sets of the documents last night. And then I put hard copies on my door for pickup.
yeah. But the components of this one that had scratched out and is 55,000, the components are listed the same. There's boots.
Right, but he forgot to add the insulation that goes in the bumper pants.
The what?
Bumper pants.
Oh, insulation?
Got that, because they gotta be
Okay.
insulated.
Okay,
Yeah.
There's the gear, there's the bumper pants.
so again, I did send an email suggesting that because, once again, we have a document with nothing else, no other justification. I did ask if you could provide for us the current equipment, when it was purchased, what it was purchased for, what the replacement schedule of that is, of all those items are. So again, we
I can
know.
do that for you right here, okay?
Okay, but again, the trustees don't get to see
Well, I
that
have
and
to
do,
find the information out myself.
okay, all right, then please, go ahead.
The fire department purchased the gear that we have now in 2022.
Okay,
With the cost was $109,000. And that was paid for by the fire department through a grant that we got.
and since 2002, not one of these items have been replaced?
You have to replace them every 10 years.
Okay, but there's been 10 years since 2002.
That's correct.
So then in
The
2000,
gear is good for 10 years.
okay, so 2002, it would have been 2012 that it should have been replaced.
Or, excuse me. Yes, you're exactly right. We bought it in 2012.
12, okay. So my first question then is, why was not this on any of the documents, the things that, you know, the schedule of items that we need to plan for replacement of? We started talking about this a few years ago when we had the canisters and the air packs and things like
We do
that.
have it on for replacing gear. Doug, are you there?
But just because there's a fund for it.
Yes, Ed, I'm here.
doesn't mean It should
How
come
much do we
out
have
of
in
the
the gear
blue.
replacement fund right now?
In the fire truck reserve,
No, it's not fire truck reserve, it's gear replacement.
the gear yes, the gear replacement, you mean in the reserves or in the budget?
In the reserve.
In the reserves, it's 14,000.
Yes.
So you have been saving for it, but
Yes, we have, but we did not know what is what I'm trying to tell you. All we had was air packs and canisters. And I know there was people trying to get together for quite a while to come up with not every nut and bolt, not every iota of things, but the things that have to be replaced. Therefore, this isn't a surprise to say, oh, by the way, we now have to spend $55,000 to replace things. And when you do that, when you do lump sum replacements, then in 10 years, you have another lump sum replacement. The wiser thing generally is to schedule it out, so you have bits, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here, for instance, so that you can schedule it over time.
And Ed, the other piece of this puzzle, Tara and I were talking to you about this months and months and months ago, and you just said yourself that there was a grant that you got for this. So 2 years ago, somebody from the fire department could have been looking. Don't, Ed, let me finish, please.
I just want to say.
Let him finish, and then you may speak.
So if you knew these were coming up 10 years, right? That's no secret to the fire department, correct? You guys know that these need to be replaced every 10 years, correct?
When they bought them, I wasn't part of the purchase, so I had no idea.
So you didn't know when the gear was bought.
Because we were doing the inventory, which we're almost complete with, to give to you guys, and somebody walked over to me and said, my gear's expired.
So not one fire department member has known for the last 9 years that this was going to have to be replaced until April or May when Tara and I met with you. That's what you're telling me.
I wasn't cheap that night.
Okay, but.
Okay, I'm all set. I'm all set.
Okay, hold on, Ray, please.
Okay, so this gear, what's the reason that it has to be replaced every 10 years?
The federal government says that you have to.
Can you give us a copy of the regulations that require this?
Yes. I'll pass that around. It's right down.
That's not gonna do. A cell phone is not gonna do, but if you can send somebody, send the link so that it
Send
can
us a
be.
link. The second thing is, so this is not parceled out, like replaced in groups. It's all one big purchase every 10 years.
Every 10, if you guys want to, okay. I'll read you the thing. If you want to buy individual gear, okay, it will be.
I'm not talking about individual. I looked at this and I wondered about the numbers. Because there are different numbers for different purchases that all seem to relate to individual firemen's use. And there's probably a good explanation if I can read the documents a little better, but so could you not work this out so that you purchased half of them on an all cost cycle, every 10 years? You've got so many to do. Why don't you have it 5 years and 5 years and you do it on a smaller purchase basis?
Because when we purchased the last gear, that the
Yeah.
village did purchase the Wicket Fund, it wasn't a grant, it was a gift that was given to the fire department.
Okay, yep.
So we went, we bought a bunch of equipment, we bought, like I said, we spent $100,000 for
So
the
you
year.
kind of ended up with a whole shebang. at one
So we
time.
bought them all at the same time.
Right.
That, and the 10 years has expired. So we have to replace them at the 10-year.
Okay, so there's,
Gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
I mean, it's the
unfortunately, it
government.
only gave once.
Yeah, so I understand that we want to have a fire department that's functioning. We want to have a fire department that's safe. I have no doubt you guys know everything on earth about a fire. But as far as management, this is pathetic. I have no other term for it. It's pathetic.
Wow. I didn't think I'd hear that from a board chair.
Well, you tell me, if somebody sits around, if we sat around for 10 years and then all of a sudden said, gee, we just noticed that something is falling apart, that's not management.
If the federal government didn't mandatory it, tell us.
But then why? But then it's your then as a manager, it is your responsibility to educate others in the process.
I'm sorry that I took over the fire chief position, and I believe Chief Myers would be here asking you for the same thing, maybe not.
This is not personal against anyone. It's a systemic
Well,
issue with the management and
So you're telling
the
me-
long-term outlook of this.
and since I've taken over as chief, you're telling me I'm a bad manager of the fire department?
I did not say bad. I said the management of the fire department is not that great.
And I
Right
think-
now,
I
it
think
is
you
not.
got handed a lot. Ever since you
Yep.
joined, you've been doing your job.
But
which
you've
is-
also been assistant for quite some years.
And as you well know, assistants don't get told everything.
I don't well know that. I'm
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
so that puts you in an awkward
So what you guys
position.
let me run the fire department, and that's why I'm here. to
Well-
get-
So,
Telling
so,
you, you have a choice, okay? Because now I'm upset. You have a choice. You can either get fined when they come to the firehouse and
Okay.
the gear's out of it, you can get fined. That's up to you guys. I'm not telling you have to buy this stuff. If you want to vote it down, then it dies. That's it.
What are the,
As I said, we want a functioning fire department. We want a fire department that's safe. But we also have to have a short-term and a long-term outlook on things. It can't just be, gee, we just discovered that for 10 years, we never thought that our equipment would expire. It should not take months and months and months
I can
to
tell
come
you,
up with,
I don't sit there and
budget
go,
items.
that's gonna expire in 10 years, that's gonna go in 10 years, I'm making sure the trucks are ready to go out and fight a fire. I'm not sitting
But
there.
somebody knew that regulation,
Is that a new
unless
regulation?
you just looked it up.
I am, he's not chief anymore, maybe he knew.
Look, I am not gonna say one thing about any individual or even suggest that because it's not fair,
nope.
Tara.
So you said you're close to completing your inventory.
We're putting the new truck, we're getting the paperwork done, the rest of it's sitting on my desk. As soon as that's done, you are gonna have everything.
Okay, and that inventory includes the expiration dates on all your equipment.
That's correct. And how
Okay.
much it costs,
Can you give us like a deadline of when you might get that to us?
you'll have it at the next meeting.
Excellent. Okay, so at that point, we should have all of the
You will
anticipated,
have everything that's there when 5, 6 is supposed to be replaced, when the fans are supposed to be, which are coming up, that's a couple of years down the road.
I think that's what we're looking for. And I think in the long term, that's gonna give us
I
a
told
great,
you it was gonna take some time.
it's gonna give us a great opportunity to budget as we've been requesting. We're not saying we're not gonna say yes to this because we want a functional fire department. But it is going to be very helpful, and I know that Mary was working on this before she became the chair, trying to get that inventory done. So kudos to you for getting that done, getting it to us by next month. So that we can stop having these moments of tension and anxiety when we're trying to find the money to make sure we can keep you guys afloat. Right?
I just want to say something. I think that everybody's trying to do their job as well as they can. You have to run a fire department. They're responsible to the voters with the budget. They have to, and if someone comes and asks them a question, they have to have the answers, why we did this. And I think what they want, what the trustees want from you, is just a little more information in a timely manner, so they can make good decisions. And I know that sometimes, I mean, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't know what to do, because, I mean, writing out reports and things like that. So maybe there's somebody in your department who can help with that, just so they, again, the trustees have the information on time, and it's spelled out clearly. And
If they have everything, it's right here.
okay, I'm not saying it's
But-
not. This is
There's nothing else more I can give than what the price and stuff is. That's
Yes,
all- that's
yes,
all I can
yes,
give.
it was. What I'm asking is a justification, a written justification, so that the board members can have information ahead of time. We're already past our time. Where we can have information ahead of time to read, to understand, to educate ourselves on your need. This is the first we've heard that there's a federal regulation. We could have known that a month ago, 2 months ago, when you started your inventory of items.
Or you could have attached it to this quote and said,
This is,
we're looking for the fact
I
finding.
guess if.
5 years ago, he could have told us.
And I guess I know all the rules and regulations to do with the fire department and all of that. I should be able to come here and say, we need to replace this because it's 10 years old and this is the law.
but you should be able to give us the law. You should be able to provide us so that we can read. And there are board members that read to the nth degree of things to understand, which is great. It's their job. We should be able to, yes, it's not like anyone's doubting your word,
Right.
but we should be able to read and educate ourselves on things. There has to be some more than just an oral report now and then. There has to be some documentation of things. There has to be a justification, pros, cons. Pro, it makes us, it's a working fire department. Con, there's a fine. What's the fine? When's the fine? How's the fine?
So I think you've stepped into an administrative position that has a lot of demands in it, not just managing the operations, but also the paperwork side of things. And you're getting there, right? And I think that's really great because we have needed this inventory for many years and now we're finally going to have that. Going forward with that inventory, we'll be able to say 4 years from now, 5 years from now, we're going to need this much money, and then we can budget for it over the time that we need in order to not kill all the taxpayers. So I think we're on the right track. This just hit us a little bit hard because knowing
We
how
do
much.
not have $55,000. There just isn't.
Nope.
Now, can we come up with a way to say we can schedule 5 this year, 5 next year, 5 until over 4 years, until you can get the 20? That may happen. Or we have to take a hard look and say, why do you need 20? Can we do with 10?
Okay, so.
I'm not asking for that answer now.
Let me say this, if I went and met with a guy and I said, I want interior here for 6 people. We have 6 interior guys. Those 6 interior guys are $22,000. I said, I don't need gear for the interior gear for all the other people because they roll holes, they drive the truck, they pump. So if I do the gear for 20 interior people, we're talking $90,000. So he came up with the gear that you got up there, which is $2,500. So if we do them over time, again, you're gonna pay more because.
Yes, you do. But that is because there was no planning for the last 10 years. So you're in a hole. You either get to a place where you are forward thinking or you're reacting. We're now reacting, and reacting is going to cost more per unit. Or we look around to see whether there is such a grant, that there is a grant opportunity somewhere to be able to do these things.
As part of your inventory, I'm sorry, I'm intruding.
No,
into
please.
this, but as part of your inventory, which is a great thing that's coming along, but I don't know some basic facts about how many there are in the department that are active in firefighting and how that's divided up, because you have some people who do specialized jobs, like the really dangerous ones of going in buildings and so forth. And you have people who deal with the hose and the pump and connections and interfacing with other members of other fire departments that are around. So I think I'll just add this to there. If you have a kind of organizational structure for how the fire department is run in terms of operational capabilities. It might be useful for us to know that as well as knowing, because that would impinge on what kind of equipment, personal protection equipment you have to have, right? It's different. You just pointed this out yourself. And I think it would be useful to know how that, in order to understand why these numbers are what they are on these quotes. Like you have, I noticed there are 18 helmets of one style, black, and then 2 in white. Are those?
Those are for the chiefs.
Those are the chiefs.
Doing the 2 new chiefs just got the helmets because they just became chiefs.
They're all the same price. So
Right, it doesn't color.
yeah. Okay. The same helmet is the different one. Okay. So I think that would be a useful thing to have too. Because I don't know what that functional differentiation is within the department itself, because different people do different things.
Yep.
And then
That's why I didn't want to buy an interior firefighter gear and pay
Yes, sure.
$5,000 when we could pay $2,000 and, you know, because they don't need all the protection and all that stuff.
Can you tell me, how many people do you have to outfit every 10 years? Is it just 20 or are there more? There's 20
Unless
total.
people join, then it'll.
And then there's more, okay.
We are past our time. We are going to stay as close as we can to our agenda. I am happy to have a subgroup volunteer and discuss this. We must have a functioning fire department. We want, not must, we wish to have a functioning fire department. This is, we wish to have a safe conditions for our folks. But we also must be able to afford it, and we do not have this money. I don't know what tree it's gonna shake out of. So
Well, I'll look at a grant and
that would be helpful, and we're more than willing to help you look for that or do that. So
are you proposing that we have a kind of a group that works with Ed?
well,
And
we already did. We had Tara and Doug that have been
That's right.
attempting to do this.
An ad hoc committee?
Yes. So if that inventory is there, we have to start
Okay.
doing something with the budget, and that means actively managing the books.
Yeah.
Not just occasionally coming in with a request.
And one other thing that would go with knowing how personnel are used and what functions there are, functional distinctions there are in the different parts of the department. There would be a question of, you know, I assume Ed alluded to an inspection. There's an inspection by Vermont's fire safety people. Right. And the board should be, you know, we don't have to be there, but we should be familiar with these
Exactly.
inspections that go on and when they happen, and just be kept apprised of.
that's so far to show up. So-
Yeah, okay, but at any rate, they will show up, and you will be responsible to them, and we will be responsible for dealing with any deficiencies they uncover. Now, they were there to look at the installation of the heat pump and to approve that as acceptable in circumstances, which they did. And Scott was there with who was it? I don't know who came.
Matt,
Matt, yeah, and Matt.
Zubikowski.
Yeah.
I think, I may not have that.
Jacobowski.
Jacobowski, yes,
Jacobowski,
yes,
right.
yes.
So I know that's one inspection. I don't know if that's who comes down for the other things you're talking about.
The equipment.
The equipment and stuff.
That would be NFPA, National Fire Convention
All right, We are 15 minutes behind
Okay.
schedule. I'm sorry, we are closing this discussion.
So no action for these.
No action unless a trustee wishes to make any type of motion.
I do not.
And I think come back to us with more.
Yeah.
Or get together with these. This is your checks.
And
But I look forward to your inventory.
maybe Tara.
We all do.
Does can talk to, find time to talk.
And don't question it. If it's checks, go with it.
Yes, it's checks from Lori.
Thank
Thank
Ed.
you. Thank you. Highway facilities report. Norm, thank you for hanging in there. You're on.
Okay, so not really a whole lot's changed. October is usually a big maintenance month for us. You know, getting trucks ready. We do have 2 salt contracts in place. We've already took delivery of 2 tractor trailer loads of salt. One of them got turned in, one got today. You know, just general park cleanup. And that's pretty much about it. Lafayette, I called about the guardrail.
Yeah.
Supposed to get back to me 3 days ago and I haven't seen them. We did finish our patching on Prospect Street, the potholes that we could patch. We went over on Pleasant and we just did a couple little ones there. But that seems to be holding well once the removal of the 2 big trees, the homeowner took them down.
Nice.
So other than that, it's just business as usual.
Couple questions. Well, first of all, I would like to say that there is a huge thank you to you and Kyle from the McWaters Park Permaculture Garden folks. They had a little, I guess, a meet and greet. Was it last weekend?
Yep.
Right.
Saturday. we
Yes, thank you, Ray, for coming along to that too. It was lovely. And they were every one of the members just wanted to personally thank both you and Kyle for all the work you do and the nice conditions of the park over there. So that's from them, Norm.
Well deserved.
Also, I would like to thank Norm for installing the bricks, that Meg Wilmington and others have been getting the engraved bricks down at the fountain. Norm and the crew put them all in, only to find out that the company sent the wrong color and Norm noticed that it was the wrong color, notified Meg got back with the company, they acknowledged their error. They're resending all new bricks. So thank you again, Norm, in advance for having to do double work on that project. The Vector, that was very interesting, I thought, when Norm, when you were telling me about that new big truck. First of all, have you seen the bill from BGS on that? We had the shipping bill, but not the other one.
No, yeah, I have. They started a whole new system and they are way behind.
Okay, I just didn't want to miss that. But last I talked to you, you were doing some testing and repairing on that. Was that successful?
We don't know yet. The repair seems to be, we got a deal. We're going to actually help the town of Bennington out and we're going to try it maybe Friday or early next week.
Okay.
Could you explain what a Vector is?
You know how we run around with that little yellow trailer and clean out all the DIs?
Yes.
Okay, well, we work like, 3 of us have to work like 10 men. This is just a way bigger version of this thing. So we'll use like just some cost scenarios. Like if we sometimes have had to rent this truck because DIs didn't get cleaned every year like they do now. And this truck to rent is like $2,400 a day. So we bought this, shipped it. I've done some work on it. We're maybe 6,500 into this truck, so think about that. If we clean the village once, we paid for it. we've got our yellow trailer that if this truck works out, we'll sell that. And again, that's a trailer that was worth probably 110,000 that we have, I think, 11 into it. And we've done hardly any maintenance on that except for regular oil change. So
Excellent.
if you want to come up the garage anytime, I'll show you exactly what it does. But, this truck's
Okay.
12, and I don't want to get onto the discussion of the previous one. You know what I mean? I'm buying trucks worth huge money for pennies on the dollar. And in the surplus program, as we've talked about, and in your budget meeting, setting the tax rate is actually allowed that to come down because it's a good system for the village.
Yes.
It is.
I gather that from speaking with other board members. So, excellent. Okay.
And it's much appreciated, Norm.
Yes, indeed.
Mhm. Anything else you'd like to comment on, Norm, or any questions from the board? Comments to Norm? No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Doug, you're back on with the treasurer's report. I know you've got a couple things you were gonna.
Yep, I'll hit a few highlights. Let me just get to my notes here. As far as the cash accounts, unless anybody has any questions, there's really not a lot of change there. We'll start to see an increase. Tax collection is in full swing, all by mail right now. We do have our in-person hours that are going to begin next week. Mary and I are kind of splitting that up because I can't do during the day because of my work. So Mary is going to be doing Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 to 11 at the depot. I will be doing Thursday evenings from 5 to 7 and Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. These are all posted on our website. They're posted in the Bennington offices, the Shasberry offices, and I just got confirmation from the banner that they'll be going in starting this weekend's edition for legal notices. So they'll be all over. So if anybody has any questions, just let them know. And also they're on the depot window, the side window where the notices are, and in the front window. So all of the in-person hours are out there. People can schedule too. There's a little note if they call the village phone, which I check either daily or every other day. If somebody has to make an appointment, Mary or I will make arrangements to meet with the folks. But so far, so good. Taxes are rolling in. We still just have one delinquent tax parcel in the village from last year. So nothing beyond 1 year. And that taxpayer has been making somewhat regular payments. There hasn't been a month that's gone by that they haven't made some sort of a good payment on that bill.
And that is excellent follow-up on your part, Doug. Thank you.
No problem. My hope, fingers crossed, that it gets cleared up the end of this month. So I'm hoping it doesn't carry over, but we'll see where that goes. Delinquent taxes hours. So the only other thing that I have is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont is our healthcare provider. We have one employee who takes advantage of this. So this is up for renewal. As everybody knows, cost of insurance is going up. So I'm just getting the note out here from them. So there is an increase projected. The monthly is $994.55 starting next year. And it was $820 this month. Let's see, this month it was $882.05. So it'll go up not quite $100. The advantage to Blue Cross Blue Shield right now is, like I said, we only have one employee. So the odds of us finding another insurance provider that's willing to take on one guaranteed employee at a lower cost than this is probably minimal to none.
Not worth it.
So I think the best course of action, we're already familiar, they're familiar with us. If one of the trustees is inclined to make a motion to approve the renewal of Blue Cross Blue Shield, then so be it.
I'd make that motion And
I'll
I have a
second it.
question to ask.
Okay, Ray has a question before we
Yeah,
go.
so is this through the Vermont?
The VLCT,
VLCT?
I don't think it is, but I
No,
don't.
this
I
is
know
independent.
this
This,
is not.
yeah,
Independent?
this is an agent that is through Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay.
And their office is in Berlin.
And VCLT doesn't,
They
don't offer a program general?
They
for
do,
municipalities?
they don't offer one by VLCT, but they do conglomerate, I guess is the right word.
Aggregate.
Aggregate different people and provide things out there. I think for one, I think I would have to agree with Doug that it's probably difficult to find someone
It was,
any less than that to get one.
Yeah,
so I remember when we started doing this and it was more expensive through VLCT.
Yep.
Than it was through Blue Cross and Blue Shield for one person.
Yep.
You know, they're looking for groups and
Right.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's not gonna
Yeah.
happen. So Doug, it's
Okay.
a little less or a little more than 100? A
More.
little more.
Yeah, it's going up. It was, I think, like I said, the warrant this month was 882, and they're
Right,
projecting 994
okay,
for the coming year.
yeah,
$200.
Yeah, about $100.
and that generally will start in January.
Yes, it has. Yeah, I think the date is January 23rd.
Yeah, it's usually the calendar year.
Oh yeah, I saw 2023, January 1st of 2023.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
Well, there
That's
was a
like
motion and a
1200.
second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Okay, and unless anybody has any other questions for me, that was all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move along. Oh, good, we're like, I think back on track here. DRB and Planning Committee. Okay, under the Planning Committee or the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission is recommending a new member to the Planning Commission. Give me a moment. I would like to read, his name is Steve Lennox. He's a resident of the village on College Road. I would like to take a minute to read a relatively short bio. Steve Lennox recently retired after over 45 years of work in the design field, where he created exhibits and public experiences for public aquariums, zoological parks, nature centers, science centers, and cultural institutions. Steve was principal and co-owner of the firm Lyons Aremba Inc. before merging with Roto Group out of Dublin, Ohio. His work has taken him to project locations across the US and abroad. Over his years of design work, Steve has worked with a long list of prominent architects, designers, engineers, specialty consultants, as well as monitoring the construction of highly complex public projects. The work that Steve engaged in throughout his career required a great deal of passion, collaboration, coordination, and anticipation, not just by Steve, but by those who worked on each project. A passion for the love of the natural world, bringing the natural world to guests, a collaborative spirit born in the simple premise that each project had to have a shared vision in order to succeed, an exhaustive approach to coordination necessary for technically complex projects, and an anticipation of all that could go wrong during the course of construction for each and every project. Steve's 45 years of design experience brought him into contact with institutional administrators and board members, city mayors, state governors, private and public funding sources. His ability to work across all socioeconomic lines seamlessly speaks to his even demeanor. His projects, often in excess of 100 million, have not been insignificant additions to their respective communities, and as such, they required that Steve, the architects, and the clients work closely with each community to ensure that the new project would in fact be a welcomed asset to the community. If you're traveling on College Road, you might see the new art studio that Steve and his wife, Michelle, share. And she is retired faculty of the School of the Museum of Fine Arts at Tufts. And Steve is in doing one of the things he loves and does landscape inspired abstract painting. I feel that it is with an honor to nominate to you Steve Lennox as an additional member of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we ask him to look at the firehouse?
You know, it might not be a bad idea.
I thought the exact same
I never
thing.
thought of that. I will do so. And I will also say that Steve has been sitting in on planning commission meetings as a resident, and he's made a number of very valuable and good comments, additions, and some suggested changes to the bylaw that we're looking at.
I feel like.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
I had made that motion, Matthew seconded. Any other questions, comments? We are delighted that we have such a esteemed member of the community willing to serve.
Do we need to vote?
Yes,
Yeah.
all
I'm in
in
favor.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. The second issue that we have is we also need to name an acting zoning administrator. Billy Rogers has elected to step aside. It is with sincere thanks and gratitude that I thank Billy Rogers for the service he did provide, and also to help us move forward with that position. We've learned a lot, and in a special meeting that the Planning Commission held last week, notes of which are on the website, the commission adopted the following process and procedure for seeking a candidate. A, we want to adopt a formal job description, seek candidates from all available sources, interview the candidates in a future special meeting of the zoning, of the Planning Commission, nominate the candidates to the trustees as required by statute, provide a formal offer letter to the successful candidate, and remain engaged to ensure candidate success through periodic reviews and audits. This was what was agreed to by the Planning Commission. We then drafted and have adopted, which the trustees have today, or have at least should have had to see a job description, detailed job description for the zoning administrator. We then will be posting notice through a formal job ad, and that will get the ball rolling on a zoning administrator. In the meanwhile, Scott Creedy, who used to be a zoning administrator, has agreed to step up and be nominated by the Planning Commission to be forwarded to you as an acting zoning administrator. It would be the Planning Commission recommendation to always have an acting administrator, at least one, in addition to a zoning administrator, because it's a big job. And to expect one person to be available 24/7, not 365, is just not fair to a candidate. So having an acting person would just be the wise thing to do. So with that, unless there are questions, I will propose the nomination from the Planning Commission of Scott Creedy to acting zoning administrator.
I will second.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, take a vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Scott will have to abstain.
Scott is abstaining, thank you.
Keeping
So
my mouth shut.
here we go. All right. The water department, I don't have a exact, I don't have any updates from the water department. They will be joining us for executive session. In our new business, I also sent out information on a pricing policy for the EV charging station. A year ago, when we put the charging station in here at the depot, it was required under the grant that it be free to users for 1 year. After 1 year, we have the option of setting up a pricing policy. They can be detailed, they can be complicated, they can be not that complicated. I'm learning a lot about these. Not enough yet, but some. I did look around at other EV stations in the area. A common rate in this, around here in our smaller and a bit larger area is 35 cents a kilowatt hour. Some stations charge per kilowatt hours. Some stations have a fee per hour of use. In Bennington, the EV stations in the town of Bennington are still free for use. They have been for some years. But they may be thinking about adopting a modest pricing policy. Other stations in the area that are in a business setting, some of them are free for 1 hour and then $2 per hour after that. The idea is for a business, solicit, offer a free hour of charging and someone will come eat lunch or dinner or shop at your establishment. And that seems to work. Originally, I thought, after talking to a couple of EV owners, that seemed reasonable and easy to do. For first hour free and then 2 hours for every other hour you're plugged in. So if you plug in overnight, you're still charged whether you're using it or not, you're plugged in. Then I got to thinking, well, our costs, when I did a quick analysis, our costs all in are probably a little over, somewhere between 40 and 50 cents per kilowatt hour that we put out at those stations.
And that goes on the North Bennington electric bill?
That is on our electric bill. And it is a combination, that analysis is a combination of the electricity used, which is the least part of it. It costs us 19 cents a kilowatt hour for the electricity. The charge point who runs the station, if we set up a fee, they will charge us 10% of all the fees collected. So if I average this out over, or if I take the number of kilowatt hours actually that went through the station, which was over 7,000 kilowatt hours, it comes out, the cost of electricity is about $1,400. And that's the, $140 or so for charge point to charge us for that, which isn't much. But then I added in the Voltrek, the network fees and the warranty fees. And that's where I come up with depending on what level of network pricing we choose. And I sent you that document as well. That'll go anywhere from 40 to 50. So long story short, the more I think about it, my recommendation would be to set up a pricing policy at 35 cents a kilowatt hour. And then I will work with the Voltrek folks to come up with something so that if somebody plugs in longer and their vehicle is fully charged, to have some kind of a per hour fee to disincline people from parking there and just staying overnight or whatever longer than they need to. At this point, am I making any sense? Are there
No,
any
that's great.
questions?
I have a question. How is the payment made? does the machine, you put a credit card or?
It is all that, it is all via credit card, yes.
Okay,
And Voltrek collects that, and it will go directly, Doug and I will work together on this, it will go directly into our bank account.
okay, and they keep 10%?
They keep 10%.
Okay, so right now it costs about 19 cents a kilowatt hour, and we would charge 35.
We would charge
So
35 to
we-
offset
we
our
would
other
make
parts.
a little?
We would make a little, yes.
Okay.
To be all in, we'd probably want to charge somewhere between 40 and 45 cents.
Okay.
But that's more than the average for the area. And we don't really want to disincent people to
come here.
come and use it. We want people to visit our village.
So you're saying all costs in plus the electric cost, it would be 45 cents?
Yeah,
Based on our current.
based on our current use.
Okay.
And that includes,
That
is
includes.
this a
these
rental of
fees,
these machines?
This is,
or-
so now this is the next piece
the
of it.
charger.
When we put in this charger, the grant requires that we maintain this charger for at least 5 years. We've done 1 year. On year one, we paid just the 1 year price for both the network and the maintenance policy. What I'm suggesting now is, since we know we have to have this for at least another 4 years, the per unit cost for paying out 4 more years, or even 5, is pretty significant. You'll notice on the network
Okay.
pricing, it's $345 per port
If you went
versus
to-
$277.
But if you went to 5 years, you
Yes.
pay over $6,000.
I don't think I have a strong opinion as to whether we should pay for 4 years or 5. On the one hand, the grant says we have to keep it another 4 years, so that kind of makes sense.
Right. That would save us how much over just year over year rollover?
Well, it would,
Quite a bit.
yes. Yeah, and it's still not such that we couldn't afford, it's about $5,000 to pay 4 years up front.
Yeah, okay.
We have a reserve for this yet?
No,
No.
So where does it come from?
this just comes out of well, we could take it out of the depot reserve because it's at the depot if we wanted to. I would suggest we don't until we come up with other places where we can save in our
Do we
admin
have
budget.
an indication, a rough idea of how much we'll drag in to offset that? Does Doug know that, or do you?
What do you
know?
mean to drag in?
If we
From
start
the
charging.
fees.
From the fees?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll offset all but about 10 cents of it. So we'll have about 10 cents per kilowatt hour. The average cost, based on what I saw before, I would say it's gonna cost us about $600 a year.
As long as we are willing to continue to put some money into that community development fund that I think still exists,
Community Development Fund. I'm not following.
maybe Doug can, there's a line item and it's money that we set aside many years ago after Bennington College built their building and paid the permit fees.
I have no idea what that is.
Anybody else?
No.
You've
There is
been
a
at this
fund.
a lot longer than us.
I've never heard of a community develop, oh, we have our contingency fund.
Well,
No.
no, we do, but Matthew's right. There is a fund that started with Bennington College and the money that they had to pay us. And it was consolidated. I think, Matt, is it in a CD? Is it?
I don't know where it is. I know it.
No, never heard of it. In all the years I've been
Mary.
sitting here, I've never heard of it.
So
It's
let me
in-
look look back, okay? And we,
Yeah.
I can look for it, but I know exactly what Matthew's talking about, and
Right.
we can find it.
It'd have been like $15,000 or something.
Yeah, it was,
Maybe-
Should show up on this balance, this
Should
sheet.
be on the, well, at any rate,
So it may be in a bank that we don't even remember or
no,
know
we'll look it up. Point
Yeah,
is,
of?
Mary, let me look it up, and I'll get back to you.
Kind of
everybody.
terrific.
my
Well,
point is,
you
we
know,
ought to be applying that to that kind of thing. That's where that should
Okay.
go, because it is community development. We're bringing people
Okay.
into town.
Well, gosh, let's find that. Never
Let's
heard
see
of it.
anything that indicates
No.
that kind of purpose. Let's see, contingency fund.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it got rolled somehow into the contingency fund, which is $24,000.
Yeah, seems
That
like
sounds
it
kind of
might-
familiar.
Seems like it might have,
I'll take a look.
okay.
But at
Yeah,
any rate, we should be applying that cost to that kind of, that
yeah,
kind of fund.
that does make sense, Matthew, to do
Yeah, I
that.
would agree with that.
And I will say that for the last 8 years, we put $1,000 a year into the contingency fund. And it's now at 23,000.
Yep.
So coming from 15 might well be
That
it.
sounds about right. I think that's what we ended up calling it, but
Okay.
But-
So are you making a motion that we pay the Voltrek fees out of the contingency fund? Is that what
indeed I am. Yes.
Okay,
And then following your notion that we, as you proposed in the letter about how we go forward with this, that we're going to pay. We'll pay the fees for now, or for the next 4 years anyway.
yeah,
And
Well, it's not really the fees, it's the residual cost.
the residual
So
cost,
it's the network, you have to pay for the network to have the machine working. And then
It's all the costs that you laid out, plus the cost of the electricity
right?
and the cost of the fee that the
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 10%.
35
the
cents,
10%
the 35 cents. will
versus
cover.
the, whatever the income is, that comes out,
Yes.
that's the net residual.
Yes.
That's what we're
But
paying for.
up front, what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm not hearing correctly, that we would do the upfront 4 years payment, and that $5,000. Comes out of the contingency?
If that's the. price.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I agree with that, yes.
okay,
If that's Matt's motion, I agree with it.
okay, so that's a formal second?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor or other discussion? Other discussion first? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Yes.
7,000 kilowatt hours. Was that annual for a year?
Yes,
Okay, for 12 months.
yes,
Okay.
give or take a few days
For both of them.
for both. It's one unit with 2 ports.
And that is currently the average of the usage. This is only
Yes.
1 year.
Fairly good usage.
Yes, yes, and you know what, we probably could have a few more, but at any rate, okay. Under the new business, I would also like to mention again, that there is going to be a special meeting on Wednesday, June 19th. I am not sure if it's gonna be in the
October 19th?
October 19th. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the depot. This is the one, right, that you indicated.
Yeah,
to me you
I
can't
won't.
come here. But it is a special meeting that is a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the trustees. It will be led by BCRC, and the agenda is to scope out a municipal planning grant, which will encompass not only what we want to do with our buildings and our infrastructure, but how we want to handle our traffic flow and other of those issues that are coming up. It will be posted It will be on the website. I will be finalizing the agenda with BCRC on Friday. So it should be up and available then. And I will just reiterate to those listening that the website is www.villagenorthbennington.org. We do try to put this on, it was on people's tax bills, and we will try to put it on all our communications.
What time of day is that?
It will be 7 o'clock in the
7
evening.
PM. And that's the
The
19th.
typical Wednesday, the 19th. I am reaching out. I know there are members of the public that wish to come to this. This room where we are right now at the depot may not be adequate. So I may be looking to see if there's Left Bank or Park McCullough House or something like that. Because I think this is a meeting that will be very interesting to the public. And we encourage participation.
So I can put that on the Facebook.
Go right ahead and watch when I have, when the agenda comes out and direct people to the website.
Okay. And also where it's gonna be.
Yes, yes, because that is, the formal agenda will be coming out. Did anyone else have anything under either new business or old business?
I had a quick question
Yes.
for Lori about voting. Is she still there?
Yes, Lori is here.
Are we having voting in the depot this November? Or, because I got
Yeah, so,
absentee ballot.
Scott, I got an absentee ballot too, isn't that funny?
Everybody.
Yes.
So I'm not involved in the November vote at all. I'm only involved with the North Bennington Graded School District's March vote. So that would be a question to ask Cassie.
Kathy.
Cassie.
Cassie.
Oh, Cassie.
That would be a good idea, and you know what, we will find out. If you find out, let us know. If I
You know,
find out, I'll let you know.
Mary, I need to email Cassie anyway, so I'll ask her
Okay.
a question and I'll let everybody know.
Okay, and if so, we will also make sure that that gets posted in our regular locations and on our website.
Right, okay.
And if there is not going to be voting here, it can be posted.
And Ray had an excellent point. It should also be posted if there is not voting here. So both bits of information, yay or nay, are good. Any other business to be discussed? Oh, yes, I did. Sorry. I need to find my right number here. Number 8. The last month's meeting, I wanted to talk about the records management that had come up the previous month. Then we ran out of time, so now I'm gonna talk about it again. This is a proposal to utilize the assistant librarian at the McCullough Library to do an ad hoc program, I guess is what you would call it, hire her to help us develop a records management policy, and also then to digitize the old records that we deem worth keeping and come up with a way to note what these documents are, to develop a catalog of the documents, and to develop a process as we go forward for digitizing any future documents that we need, and also then purge ones that we no longer need to keep hold of. If anyone's been up in the depot recently, in the room next to the zoning administrator's room, it's just a hodgepodge and a pile of God knows what. I did go up and pull out probably 15 years worth of old invoices They do not need to be kept under any records retention policy by the state or otherwise, once an audit of the year has been done. So at some point, I will call, with trustee approval, call Shred It, and Norm had agreed that he would help carry boxes down those steep steps and start to shred them. But we have all kinds of things up there and we may not know where they go. I don't know who better than a librarian to help organize and catalog records.
No,
So-
I think this is a good proposal and it's
Excellent.
long time overdue. But it probably it's just right now because digital technology is a known thing and
Yeah,
we've got people that know a lot more than you and I do.
a lot of people know a heck of a lot more than I do.
So this person will actually digitize it, or
Yes.
will just develop a plan
No.
for having
We
it
will
digitized?
first work on developing a plan for what to do, bring that back to the trustees, get that approved. Now, there will be some expense to it because we will have to purchase one laptop that is dedicated for this. We'll have to purchase an appropriate scanning
Right.
machine to do this because we're likely to have things perhaps of different size, of different condition. You can't necessarily just run things through a feeder. And then the quality of what you're trying to digitize.
Mhm.
Right, and yeah, I think that's all true. And so there's upfront cost and then there's the cost per hour for
Yes.
20 hours per month.
Yeah,
$20 an hour for 20 hours a month.
yeah. And it may not, if some months may be, some months won't, but it will
Right.
not, I guess I should say it should not exceed.
And the one thing that's see a reporting mechanism in this proposal, but I'm sure it's intended that,
Well, it would be to develop the catalog of documents
well,
and then.
no, I mean to report periodically, like
Oh,
a monthly.
good
report to the
idea,
board.
good idea. Okay, let me add that, good idea.
So we know the progress. And she will obviously have a pretty good idea of what, after a period of time, she'll have a pretty good idea of when this project will end or when she's going to be sick of it.
That could happen. Now, again, a lot of this is not going to, it's gonna be something that we as a board need to be involved in.
Yes.
We can't just hand documents to
Right,
someone and say,
because-
do we need this or not?
Right.
Because she's gonna need discrimination
That's right.
metrics.
And we may want to ask members of the community who are perhaps interested in history, if they want to sit and start taking a look at some of
Well,
these,
yeah.
and they may know something, certainly more than me. I haven't been here my whole life.
What
Yeah.
about legal services? Do we need that in terms of what's required?
Well, that's where Cassidy and I will be working, and I've already done some pre-work with this, using the VLCT resources to come up with a policy, a written policy on records retention and record storage.
Good.
So we have to do that first.
And I would suppose you could talk to the Bennington Town Clerk about that. For
That's another good idea. Yeah,
if you have
They are.
questions.
yes, they are doing that. So,
I would just point out that there are documents up there that go back to the 1700s. And so there's not just the important components of satisfying legal requirements, but there's also some significant historical elements.
yeah,
I mean, that's not as important immediately as getting our basic, last 20, 30 years of what's important digitized, but then there's some other elements there that.
yeah. Well, honestly, my longer term thinking is that this is just such a wonderful building. It is ill-used. And it is in some respects ill-maintained. We can work this, I'm hoping, into the planning grant to figure out a bit, but we should use it for more than a repository of boxes that no one ever looks at.
Correct. And Matthew's pointing out that we may need an archivist or a historian.
Exactly, and there may well be, I
Past
don't
ones.
know, does anybody know whether North Bennington has a historian, like a history club, like some towns do?
We did have,
Did we?
I don't know.
well, not a historian, but there is a person who has a long term, strong historical roots, but he's, what's his name?
What are they called, where they have this?
You're not picking up
Yes.
on the
Yeah.
description. I know you've spoken to him because he's talked to you about your house.
Yes,
That
Hewlett,
ordinance, not historical commission.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think other people who had historical interests like
Tyler
King
Redd.
and Tyler's
Shaftesbury, but
Shasberry, but he may have some.
he has a general
knowledge, yeah.
interest in Bennington.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yes.
may find,
Yeah,
may need to attract them to this project.
yeah, and Tara pointed out that Bennington actually has an ordinance, what did you say?
The first ordinance that Bennington has is to form a historical commission. And I didn't know what to do with that ordinance because I didn't think we had one or if we had a need for one, but it looks like we might have a need for one. So maybe adopting
Yeah.
ordinance 1 to form our own historical commission would not be a bad idea, seeing as there's now a need for it.
Yeah,
And Lucy, our computer guru, has familiarity with environmental history and has been working in a job in Brooklyn in their historical society. So
Wow.
if we can get her to move this way, she would be very handy.
Yeah.
Cool.
at any
Okay.
rate, I would ask for this board's permission to pursue this idea,
So
this
moved.
project.
Pursue without having
This,
a total
this
understanding
proposal,
of the cost.
yes, this proposal.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All
So
right,
that was a Scott move?
Yeah, I'm so.
You
moving that.
seconded it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll second.
okay, I think we've talked it all, but if any last chance to say anything? Moving on then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hear nothing else to the negative, so we'll consider that one done.
All right.
Okay. Unless there is any other old business, we are moving on to executive session. Is there any other old business?
Well,
Hearing none, may we have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. And this is for the purpose of personnel, I think we can call it. Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Good night, Ron.
Good night.
Okay, Cat TV, I'm gonna park you for the moment. Now 9:07, and we are back in our regular session. And there is a motion needed to appoint a member to the Board of Water Commissioners.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, right?
Are you waiting for me now?
Yes, if you are willing to make the motion.
So let's see. The board choose, this is a motion to appoint Joseph Ehrman. Is that?
Herman.
Herman?
Mhm.
It's 2 R's, so that's why I said Herman, because it's German. To reappoint Joseph Herman to the water board for a term of 5 years. And that's the motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
One abstention. So moved, or so passed. Is there now a motion for adjournment?
Yes.
Yes, we all do, and so affirmed, thank
I'll
you.
vote with you on that.
Yeah.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.